This is a re-recording of the webinars that I did for the new mandatory customs requirement that went into effect September 1st of 2025. For those that don't know me, my name is Michelle Williamson. I'm one of the founders of Thrifty, and we've been around since 2017. We help people send packages to friends, family, loved ones, and to support the troops. We enable people to ship from anywhere, from vehicles to classrooms to restaurants and even retirement homes. We're very passionate about supporting our troops, and we teach at pre-deployments and help military families and nonprofits nationwide. We are working with some of the biggest nonprofits across the country that support veterans and service members as well. So just to start off, just a little bit of postal history that might help in the context of this, since the webinars that we previously did, I learned a little bit more information. So back in July of 2014, we said, hey, USPS is going to enforce military customs requirements. So what does that mean? You have to be more detailed on your descriptions. Since then, we've seen some packages come back because people put snacks or hygiene or other items. So you have to have a detailed description in your customs information. And although military mail is actually considered domestic, as we've mentioned in the past, it has to follow international rules because it's leaving our border. That being said, there is a universal postal union, and they are the ones who are requiring the item level customs details. And it's also why we have base specific restrictions. So in order for us to be able to send to other places, we have to follow those rules. And the Universal Postal Union came into play back in 1874, and since then we've been part of that as part of the United States. So that's part of what's playing into this. USPS does not own the customs process. It's owned by Customs and Border Protection. That's a subsidiary of the Department of Homeland Security, and they're the ones who are passing these rules down. So the new requirements, here's what we know from USPS. The country of origin is something that is a conditional thing, but it can cause return packages. So we have that in the tools for everybody to use. And the biggest changes are that, we've always had the detailed description, we've always had the quantity, and we've always had the item value for the package. Now we need to include the net weight for the item, not the package level. And so what happens is the net weight is going to calculate and pull together the value for the weight, overall weight for your package, and then the value will do the same thing. So those are really the biggest changes. And then the other part is that a harmonized systems code is going to be a requirement in the tools. And what that is, it's just an identifier for the receiving country to know what's in there. The labels look a little bit different. If you look on the right, you're going to see that there's a code over in this area here. And then you will also see the total weights that are coming down in this area here, and then the customs are listed by themselves. We did take this up to military mail operations, and they said, yes, you do have to have the weights for the customs as well. So Thrifty is following these stated rules, and the elements are all in place, including that net weight. So when you go through the tools and you process, it'll just be right in line for you. We did escalate, our contacts at USPS escalated to global operations for us, and they also did confirm the same information. So we've taken it as far as we can. It looks like it's a postal union mandate from everything that we're seeing, and it's just got to be followed now. That being said, customs is critical, compliance is mandatory. And I have to start by saying, I'm going to quote Lisa from the Blue Star Mothers of Iowa. She says, I'm going to stay positive, and if our military kiddos can tackle these operational challenges, I have no doubt we can too. So this webinar is going to be geared to giving you some tips to be able to handle the new requirements in your packing world, and it's going to look a little bit different from what we're used to. So the first step is going to be pre-planning. I'll go into more detail about these items here. The second part is going to be, control over that information, and the third is going to be building recipes to make the the customs entry easier for you. So pre-planning, check zip code restrictions, because with the detailed descriptions and the HS code, it's going to make it easier for people to return packages for having either restricted items for that particular area or items that are not mailable and so forth. So aerosols, hand sanitizer, wet wipes with alcohol, those things are dangerous goods and they cannot be sent in all cases. There are some special restrictions when it comes to lithium batteries, so those are hazardous materials and can be sent, but they have to follow the rules. So if you have that situation, reach out to us so we can talk you through that. And then there's the common prohibited items that are base specific, right? Coffee, pork, over-the-counter meds, sometimes any meat products. So what you're going to want to do is you're going to want to look up those zip code restrictions ahead of time. You can do it inside the Ship Thrifty tools if you're in the create multiple labels with a circle with a line through it. But at the very bottom of Ship Thrifty, under the carrier information, there is a link out to USPS's lookup. And this is where you're going to find out your base specific restrictions for your zip codes that you have. The next step in pre-planning is to identify if items have hazardous materials. So when you're out there on Google or you're buying items, you're going to want to look. You don't want to include any wipes with alcohol, as in this example. You're also going to have to know the country of origin, and that's the country that something is made in. And normally it's on packaging, but this company's website has it both on packaging and on the website, and the website says it's made in the USA, but the packaging says it's made in China. So what do you do in that case? You probably have to ask them if it's where it's really made, or find something that's made somewhere where you know it's made. Aim for consistency in this pre-planning. Items, sizes, quantities. When you're looking at your packings now, think about how many boxes you want to send and how many of each of those items are going to make up that full box. So you might send 4 packs of Oreo cookies and you'll have to get the weight of the Oreo cookies. Now you can also group your like foods. So if it's cookies, you can still do all your cookies together. Maybe there's 10 packs of cookies. And then you can take up your weight of them and you can divide them by how many are there. Or you can say, you know, each pack of cookies is 3 ounces. So, but you do have to get the weights rather accurate because this is how your customs is, or your box weight is going to be derived moving forward. So here's some examples of some things that you can pack and look for consistency and volume in those to make it easier for you. Control, second piece. Be specific with your requests and limit sizes. I know we used to recommend, you know, you can put out a list and have all kinds of different things coming in. That's going to be a little bit challenging with the new rules because you've got to have the quantity of those items and the weight of the items. And when you have those two pieces, they'll pull forward. So think about your wish lists on Amazon and being able to standardize those things. We have a couple groups that are just going to pick products from the U.S. so they don't have to worry about the country of origin or where something's made in. So think of those things as you're moving forward now. You know, it's always a touchy thing because you want your donors and your volunteers to feel comfortable and come in and be part of this and building these boxes because they make such a difference. But it's going to be important to tell them why we're having to be so restricted now, and you know, letting them know that your job filling out that customs piece has to be pretty detailed now, and you have to control. And if somebody comes into the event and they're bringing other items, just let them know that, you know, thank you for that donation, but we can't put it on the table because everything's pre-weighed here. Set donation deadlines. So give yourself enough time where if let's say you're going to do 100 boxes and you don't have 100 items to put in those boxes, you're going to have to do different customs. So if you give yourself extra time, you can order additional items. Some groups actually are moving to a cash-based thing where they're only asking for dollars, and then they will be able to buy the quantities of the things that they need and just make that process easier on that side as well. Build your recipes. Each item requires the detailed description, so the HS code, country of origin, quantity, item count, and weight. If you figure those things out before you ask for your donations, you'll be further down the road. And then kind of jot those down as you're going through your process. Another good point is when you guys have your tables set up, try whatever you can do not to have somebody place something on the table to pack in a box. Is going to save you a lot of effort and potentially return packages. So thank people for those donations. Move them into an outside space or into a corner away from your packing tables that are already set. Gather your list ahead of time so that when you are ready to come into the tools, you have those items ready to go. So Ship Thrifty is going to look at a little bit different. You'll have your addresses that you can pull in from your address book. You will be able to copy for a single address or copy for different addresses. Your package information, you're going to have your box type down here. Dangerous goods moves up here. And then you'll have your item description followed by the HS code, the country the item was made, the quantity, the item weight, and the item cost. Since item cost was per item, per unit, we did the same thing with weight, and it will tally. So if you put a quantity of 10 items in there and they're 5 ounces each, it will pull 50 ounces in for you automatically. So the tools will do your calculations. As the tools do your calculations, it will also build the overall total, so you'll be able to see the pounds and ounces and the costs for your box as you go. So being able to jot these, when you have them on your main paper and now you're moving them to your boxes, being able to have this information up front is going to help you speed this process up. We are going to plan on doing some things within the tool. Right now we're hooked up to an HS code lookup. We're going to probably build our own for you guys based off the codes of the official sources, so that you guys can do the type ahead and then it will pull it up and you'll be able to select those items. Regulatory compliance falls on the sender, so you guys are responsible for ensuring your package complies with those laws and regulations. This is a standard USPS legal disclaimer. We're going to do everything we can to help smooth this process out, including this video. We're also going to send out a checklist with kind of some of the base steps for managing your care packing, and a Q&A that was compiled from all the webinars that we did. So thank you for watching the re-recording and all you do to support our troops. We are here to support you however we can, and hopefully this information helps you think about how you can handle these new regulatory changes for your upcoming packings. Thank you.